What is going on? We are back yet again with some more 99 to beat coverage. And today I'm joined by such a special guest. We have Cole in the house. Cole, how are you?
Oh, I am doing great. I'm still nursing all my wounds from, being eliminated on the show, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see you and talk a little bit about 99 to beat.
Yes, absolutely. And I definitely am so excited you came on because you are going to provide the clarity that I have been asking for from so many other people. And they go, I'm not sure. I don't know. So finally, I have the right person.
I'm like a Wikipedia of knowledge here. So like you're coming to me, I'm gonna square it all up. I'm gonna answer all your questions that I can, and then yes, you will after today full clarity. You're gonna know exactly what happened. Maybe we'll see.
That's what we need. I need the full clarity on the instruments. But before we get to that, I want to know your story. How did you get on the show? How did your friends, family react to you being on the show?
That's a great question. So, the reason I got on the show is that I am the 2024 U.S. air guitar champion. So that is me, Cole, air guitar champion. My air guitar name is actually Slappy Nuts. So the 2024 air guitar champion, Slappy Nuts, that's me. That I have videos of me online, and I got a message from someone who was casting on the show, and they're like, hey, you might be good at this. And originally, they had talked to me about a show called The Floor. Obviously, The Floor, we know The Floor. That didn't plan out. And then they said, well, we might have another one. And then next thing you know, I'm flying to London and in a room with 99 other people getting ready to tear open balloons. So that's my history, or at least my story I got on the show. My family, my friends and stuff, they were not surprised by this at all, because I am just one of those individuals that has like a bunch of weird side quests always going on, like a bunch of weird, silly things that I do. So when they said, oh, Cole's going on a game show, it's like, yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. He's on a game show.
You just went for it, guns blazing, which we love to see. Now, when you arrived there, did you recognize any other reality TV people that have been on shows before, or did you kind of not necessarily know who everybody was?
So there were two people that I recognized right away, and the first one was Danny Boatwright, who I'm from Kansas City. Danny's from Kansas City. So obviously, like, there's a Kansas City connection there. So I recognized her from that. I also recognize Sandra from Survivor. And then the rest of the folks, it was interesting because as you're like sitting in the room, or even when we were like taking the bus from the airport to the hotel and everything, you're kind of like sizing people up, or you're like kind of like, what's this person's story? It's just, and so like Jim was on my bus ride, if you will. Like Jim and I were on the same bus going from the airport to the hotel, and I'm like, Jim seems like a pretty normal guy. And then like 2 rows in front of him was Zoltan, and Zoltan's like, well, I was a mascot. I'm like, oh, really? Tell me more. And so you're starting to just get little bits and pieces of information about all these people as you get into it. But those were the two right away. Sandra and Danny were the two I recognized right away.
Of course, it has to be the Survivor players, right?
Yes, 100%. And then what's even funnier is like on our first day of orientation, I end up sitting next to Tommy. So I was sitting next to Tommy and Phil. So I have a good conversation. Tommy, he's like, oh, I was on Big Brother. And I was like, oh, really? Like, tell me more. And so, as you start to meet more people and it starts to get out like, oh, this person did that show. This person did that show. Wait, this person is this. This person's a record holder. These two are firemen. Those two are newlyweds. Like, you start to see all these little characters start to form. You're like, oh, okay, they did a pretty good job casting the show. But then what was even funnier is that when people start to find out like, oh, there's an air guitar champion there, it's kind of like, what does that mean? Like you could say, oh, that person was on Survivor. And then they say, oh, there's an air guitar champion. Everyone's like, what do you mean?
And then how do you explain that to people when it's circulating around, oh, this person's here. What is that exactly?
So that basically entails me going on being like, yes, I am an air guitar champion. I play in air guitar contests, and they usually have a lot of questions like, well, how do you do that? And so then I have to explain like how the competitions work and things like that. And then by the end of it, they're like, okay, that's cool. And then at the same time, I'm wearing like crazy suspenders and like glasses, and they're like, oh, so you're like a character, like you're like a dude that's like, I was like, yeah, I don't normally dress like this, but this is me. And I just so happen to play air guitar. And now we're here together filming a game show.
We love it. And so you enter into the game, and it's just minutes from starting when you know all these giant balloons are going to be dropping down. You're going to have to run in there and get the lay. So, what is the feeling going into that?
So I think you actually have to take like two steps back, because when we first walked into the room, we're all like looking around and see the majority of us were told that this was for $100,000. So I'm standing there, and my two circle buddies were Lizzie on my right and Carlos on my left, and we're just chatting and chatting. And the first thing they did is they brought Ken and Aaron in, and they said, "You're playing for a life-changing amount of money, $1 million." And we all are just kind of look like, that's not what we were told, and then they say it again, and then it's just pandemonium. So it's just, there's crying, there's tears, there's hugging, people are rolling around on the floor. And then all of a sudden it starts to get quiet. And then the tension kind of like ratchets up a bit, because then they're like, there's 1,000 balloons in the ceiling, only 99 have a lay in it. You got to get the lay, put it on. One of you is going to be eliminated. And so there was this really weird kind of like ramp up of tension that just kind of happened, because it was like, oh, it's actually for $1 million. Get ready. We're going to drop a bunch of balloons from the ceiling. And then nothing but just a crazy adrenaline rush as you're running out on the floor and going from there.
Well, the stakes can't be any higher than that. You're thinking you're playing for, not to say $100,000 isn't a lot of money. That is life-changing money for people for sure. But when you ramp it up to $1 million and you're not knowing that going in, it has to be like the heart beating, thumping, really rapidly going, I need to get into this very first challenge and definitely not be the first one out.
Well, I think too, I found myself saying, okay, if you're going to get through this, you've got to just try to stay as calm as possible, right? Because so I was like taking deep breaths and relaxing. But what ends up happening is that doesn't make for great TV. Because ultimately, the folks that are running around crying, screaming, yelling, like I usually am that person, like right there at the front lines. But like, as I watched back the show, like there were several times where I'm standing in the back and you can just kind of see me like, oh, like, because I'm just trying to like, okay, if I'm going to get through this, I got to stay calm. I got to stay calm. So there certainly was like a switch, I think, that flipped like for me a little bit, where I was like, okay, this is great. We're here. This is exciting, but all right, we've made it through this game. Let's just relax for a moment. Because, we were also filming for, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. So it's like, if we're going to get through this, got to stay calm, But yeah, it's just the tension and like and then someone's going home and you're like, I hope it's not me. Like, what's happening? And it just gets crazy from there.
Definitely running into that scenario of, oh my goodness, I need to lock in. I have to focus because there's so much going on. When you have that many people in that room, it's forever chaos.
Oh, total chaos. And the balloons was total chaos, just because not only was it the first challenge, but everyone, it's grab a balloon and hope for the best. I kind of stayed around on the outside and I was like stamping on balloons with my foot. I think I stamped like maybe 3 of them. And that's when the lay came out. But then there were other people that were rolling. Like, I love the clip in the promo of James, like rolling on the floor and like yanking open the balloon. Because that's what it's like. Because now it's all pops everywhere. You just hear pop, 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 pop. And you're screaming. And then you hear like, yay, I got it. So, in a very short period of time, it's like every bit ounce of energy plus all this kind of commotion and chaos. Plus, oh, wait, this is the first challenge. You don't want to get eliminated on the first challenge. Just in one like really quick bite-sized moment. It was crazy. And it only got crazier from there. And I think that when I say crazier from there, as the challenges started to change, and then you start to see people that are maybe like in the bottom a little bit more, or you see other folks that are maybe struggling with certain challenge. Like when we did the nut stacking challenge, that was like watching a horror movie. It literally was like watching a horror movie. Like, we're standing there and you see Jake was someone else that was on the bus ride. So I got to know Jake and Tabby really well. And seeing Jake and the Wagner family was like standing there watching him. And his whole hand is just shaking and shaking. Everybody's like watching. And then it falls again for what felt like maybe like the 20th time. It was just heartbreaking. And you're like, when is this going to end? Oh my gosh, it's still going. It was truly like a roller coaster of emotions every single time.
And regarding that challenge in particular, in theory, it's such a simple challenge. Anyone can grab these items and do this at home. But when you're doing it at home, there's no pressure like 99 to beat, because as you said, there's people trying to get themselves centered and calm down. You have people doing jumping jacks. You have people just doing the deep breath of resetting themselves.
I think the other part of it too, that I mean doesn't come across on camera because it's edited so fast, right? They can only fit so much in. But like, we would be in the green room and they tell us the rules. So you have all the rules and thinking about the rules. Then they take you into the actual studio and you're standing around the circle and they get all their first amount of shots. Then they take you and they put you in your spot. So it's 30, 45 minutes before the challenge even starts, right? Though it's lights are hot, sitting there. And like, I remember sitting at the nut challenge and just sitting there at the table, like just relaxing, just, try. And Ciara was sitting next to me. And Ciara goes, "You look like you're like ready for school." Like I'm in my little like suspenders. And I sit there and I'm like, "Yes, I am. I am like ready to go." And I'm sitting there, and then you're sitting at that table for what feels like, 10 minutes because they're resetting the cameras. And then the buzzer goes off. And so there's this whole bit of like energy and tension that even starts before the game even like begins. So you're already kind of feeling that kind of ramp up inside of you until it's like, then that buzzer goes off. And every time I hear that buzzer when I watch it now, like my whole body just like tenses up because it's just such a weird, like it's quiet, it's silent, but okay, take the thing and start going for it.
And you have the whole anticipation of it all because as you're sitting there waiting, you're thinking, when is this going to go off? And now you're thinking even more about the challenge. And it's almost better if you could just jump right into it, because I'm sure that's what you want to do because you're thinking so many different strategies. How am I going to stack this? How do I keep myself calm from not shaking?
Yeah, 100%. And that anticipate, that's great. I mean, that's the best word for it. It is that anticipation because you see kind of like camera people moving around and like, they got a big camera in the ceiling, it's moving around. You're like, okay, is it time yet? Like, are things going on? And you just have to kind of sit there and you're waiting and cameras move around and it's just very quiet. And you know what? It's designed that way because when I was safe after the nut challenge and like you were watching it play out amongst other people, like there's that incredible shot of Seth where like the sweat is dripping off of his nose. And I mean, that was because Seth was sitting there and he like moved in his table. And then like I was standing kind of behind watching and like the camera came all the way across the floor, all the way right to his face. It's like they're like, oh, we know something's about to happen here. And so as soon as like someone got eliminated or, you hear people cheering, like the camera's in your face. Oh, there's tears, camera in your face. So that whole like anticipation, it is by design because they know that that's what's going to get them their shots and what they need to make entertaining television.
And we as viewers don't know that because obviously we know a TV show is being filmed, of course, but all the different camera angles that they have to do, all the different shots that they need to get. Did you at one point ever forget the cameras were there at any time when you were competing?
That's a great question. I think certainly in the middle of the games, yes. Like, you're just focused when you're doing a game, like you're focused, even the group games, like you're just focusing yourself. But there are other times, I remember standing off like in the like safe zone area or like before the challenge started and like there's a robot driving behind you, like a robot camera. And you're like, oh, okay, sometimes you can notice it. But I think that you can really get, at least for me, like there's a point where like it kind of just switches off and it's like, hey, yeah, there's a lot of cameras around. I have a microphone on the whole time, but I'm here and we're just going to go for it. And you kind of just tune all that out. And I think you almost have to at some points because it's just like, I can't be worried about what these other people, I need to worry about me in this situation and what I'm trying to do.
Worry about you and how you're going to get through. That's the way you got to do it, right?
That's right.
So I do want to know from episode 1, what was your favorite challenge and what was your least favorite challenge?
Oh, my least favorite in episode 1 was the block of ice. And the reason it was my least favorite is simply because I thought I had a really good strategy going in. Okay. I was like, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm just going to kind of move it across my body. Like everybody had been kind of running in place, sweating a little bit. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take the ice. I'm going to move it across my body and it'll just naturally melt, right? Like it'll just kind of melt and be able to pull it out. But when the challenge started and that buzzer went off and I see everybody just start throwing things everywhere, but like I was like, oh, I've got it wrong. I've got it wrong because I see it. And so I throw it down my shirt and I start shaking it on the side and everything. And that worked. Like that was working. It was melting. But the issue that I had is that my whistle was turned to where kind of the circle part of the whistle was sticking out of the ice. So as I was rubbing it on my belly, all of a sudden I start to feel it scratch my side. And I'm like, oh no, this is going to really start to hurt. So I'm rubbing. And then I pulled it out and I was like, the whistle is just kind of there, but there was just a little bit of ice over the front. So then they was in a couple promo shots, but they didn't show up. But like I start licking the ice and I start rubbing it on my foot because I'm just trying to get this last little bit of ice off of the whistle. And then from there, it's fine. But that was very nerve-wracking because I was kind of like, okay, I have a really good idea here. I'm just going to take my time, and then completely threw it out the window. Completely threw it out the window. My favorite challenge from the first one, like I did really great on the pasta challenge. I did really great on the weight challenge. Balloons was fine. My favorite though was the team challenge because that was the team green water bucket, where it was incredible. Like it was one of those weird situations where you're like, okay, we are a group of people that have to come together to figure out how to make this work. And I was the leadoff person for my team. So I was dumping the water and moving it. And we had put together a really like great strategy because what ended up happening is that there were a ton of people on our team that before the challenge started, they were getting pulled for interviews. So they're getting pulled for different interviews. So we were kind of putting together this kind of strategy without other people. So David R., who is Record Breaker Rush, who was pouring it in, he kind of came up with the strategy. And I was like, I'll do this. Then Mario and I were talking, and Gianna and Jennifer and Ciara and Sarah and who else was with us? Jake and Lindsay and Adam. Who else was with us? There was 11 of us. I hope I said everybody's name, but like it was kind of like I was going back and forth and be like, Gianna, we got a really good plan for this because she had gotten pulled for an interview or she was changing her mic. So then we finally were outside rehearsing it, and then it came together and we finished very quickly. Of course, in the show, they show the one clip where like I'm dumping water on Sarah, but everything else was great. And so like there was a true kind of like, oh man, like that's how you do a teamwork. Like that right there is how it's done. And we were all feeling like very excited about it. And so yeah, that was one of my favorite challenges the whole time. Just, I think pouring water, getting wet, maybe not the most fun, but when you're doing it and it's like, oh, this is working. Like we are getting this done and we finished so fast. It's a major highlight for me.
Yeah. And I mean, the team challenges are so different depending on who you have on your squad, because you're going to have strengths and weaknesses when it comes down to it. But obviously we see groups, we see people cheering for certain people. They're communicating with more other people than, did you find yourself with a lot of people that you knew going into that team challenge, or did you not know as many people going into it?
Luckily, like with David and James and Jake on my team there, like that felt, that was great. That was great because we had already had a little bit of conversation, but this was really like my first time interacting with like Mario and Gianna and Ciara, Jen. And so it was kind of one of those things where, Lindsay too. And I had a great conversation with like Lindsay when it was all said and done. Like, so when you have 100 people in the room and everybody's kind of like trying to meet everybody, I mean, I tried my best to like meet as many people as I could, but there are some people that like, for sure, like, right, we're on a team together. We've maybe said hi to each other. We got to figure this out. And so there's that level of trust that you got to put into somebody. And it can be a little nerve wracking, but that one played out really well.
Yes, luckily it did, because as you said, it can be so hard just depending on who you have on your specific team, because we see some teams end up crumbling just because not everyone's on the same page. So luckily for y'all, you made it work. You got through. Now, what I do want to jump to and why you're specifically here on this podcast, because I kept saying, where's the other Wagner getting matched up with? We know where Preston's going. Preston is with Jim, but who has the other Wagner? And it is you. And I need you to talk to me about this, because that was the hidden mystery.
It was so funny when I watched episode 2, because they did make it seem like Preston was completely out by himself. And it's like, wait, no, there are 12 Wagners. And I think you even said, like, the math isn't mathing for me. Like, what's going on here? So one of the things that was one of the like secrets about me, or I call it like a secret, So I worked at an amusement park for 12 years. And when I worked in an amusement park for 12 years, I worked in the games at an amusement park. So like all these little silly like carny type games, it's right up my alley. Like nut stacking, that was just like a game at the amusement park called Wacky Wire. Okay. Like doing the potato toss, that's just tossing a ball in a can, right? So like I have all these things. Like when I watched the most recent episode and they're doing the duck thing, I've bought those ducks before. I know the company that makes those ducks. Anyway, so I was standing in my circle kind of area. Carlos to the left of me, and then there was Colin, who is a member of the Wagner family. And Colin and I have been chatting and stuff like that. And so when we were here, the rules of potato challenge, I kind of looked at him. I was like, I think we could do this. Like, it just very like nonchalantly. Then that's when like Preston's running over, like, oh wait, someone's breaking away. And so I said to Colin, and I don't know if I did, I was like, I'm sorry if I caused a little bit of family drama, because then when we actually got on the floor, like they pulled the entire Wagner family away and they're like, oh, you guys aren't matching up with everybody. What's going on? So Preston with Jim. Okay. So Preston and Jim were getting interviewed. And so then they pull the Wagner family away, and Jim and I are talking, and one of the other producers comes over and like, Cole, are you partnered up with Jim? And I'm like, no, I'm with Colin. And they're like, oh, okay, never mind. So that's why they only show Jim and Preston. But Colin and I, we got it in 3 throws. So the first throw was nice and easy, but landed right on the fork. It just exploded. Second one, my throw was a little off, and then the third one he caught, because Colin and Leandra and Sarah and Preston and Phil, they're also a martial arts family. So I knew that Colin could like very quickly and easily, if I get it right in the air, which I knew I could, like underhand, nice little loft to it, no spin, boom, he'll get it. And we got it right away. But yes, so there you go. There's your first mystery solved. I was with the other Wagner. They did not bring it up because they were very excited that Preston had broke away, and that it was Jim who ended up being a major MVP, because Storm also picked Jim to help her in that final round, because Jim had a really great toss. Like Jim was a really great partner. So like I think him and Preston actually got it on maybe the first or the second throw. I think it might have been the first one. So it all worked out. But I think that at one point they were like, oh, this, production's like, this is going to be a big storyline. Oh, somebody broke away. What if it happens? But then they just said, I don't know. I watched it back too, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm with the other one. And they didn't say a single thing about it.
That's what I was talking about. I was like, folks, the math is not mathing here. And then I had people on talking to me about it, and they go, oh, well, someone was already eliminated. I said, no, that's incorrect. There's still 12 of them here. That was
before the other challenge we have to talk about. But yes, no, I was with Colin. I was the one that started the the breakups there, because I immediately said to Colin, we were backstage hearing the rules, I like pointed at him, I'm like, do you want to do this? And he's like, yeah. And so then from there, family drama, get Preston and Jim on camera. It all worked out. But yes, that is the answer to your question.
It does all work out in the end, but it's just hilarious with how it is edited sometimes, because then there's the question marks, there's the mystery box, and then we solved it. The mystery box is here. We have it. We know the clarity now. And as you said too, Jim killed that challenge. Jim was fantastic.
Yeah, Jim's one of my favorite people I met from the show. Not because, I'm from Kansas City. He lives in Iowa. When we had our premiere party in Kansas City, he came down. It was great to meet him. His wife, Tammy, came up from Texas. So Tammy was there at our premiere party too. Love Jim. Absolutely love Jim. And I mean, I think that all of us that are on the show, I've been saying that like I trauma bonded with like 99 other people just because of the experience. I feel also that I really, even in the small amount of days I was there, I do feel like I made some really great connections with a large handful of people, and Jim is definitely one of them. So Jim, great dude, but I guess, do we have to talk about the music challenge now?
We do. That was this is part 2 of why we're diving into this, because I need to know exactly what went down with this music challenge. Now, I will say this first. Y'all's instrument was extremely hard. I would say, in terms of how the instruments were overall, some of them were way easier than others. There was not a middle ground where I go, okay, it's equally as hard for this one, and this one. You had a mixed bag.
I mean, we had the worst instrument.
Yes.
It was the worst instrument. So I think to set the stage for this, we were in the green room and they came in to tell the rules. And at the time, they called it blind band. I believe that's what they called it when they were saying the rules to us. And they were very clear that, like, we have already drawn your teams. You do not get to know who your teams are, obviously, because, you're going to be blindfolded. You have to find your team. They also said, we recorded the drawing. So, like, we recorded, like, us actually choosing the team. So in an effort of fairness, because that's one of the things too, like, I will say this, there was not any point in time, at least when I'm there, where I didn't feel like it wasn't fair. Like, they were always doing the rules, always following up and things like that. So we hear the challenge. We're like, okay, here we go. So we're like, those are the rules. You got to find your team. You got to bang on it. You got to build a stand. So then they actually take us into the room. And that was the first time we actually saw the instruments. And so I'm walking around the circle and I'm like, okay, bongos, love it. I'll take it. Recorder, yes. Slide whistle, yes. Tambourine, oh, I love it. Like, I'm walking around and then I see there were 3 instruments. I was like, I do not want these instruments. It was the ukulele. It was an electronic keyboard. And then it was the steel pan. So then we're standing in the circle and the blindfolds are over the floor and they say, go ahead, take a spot on the floor. And I just took a spot, like, not far from where I stood, because I was like, I know at some point I'm venturing in the middle. So I'll just kind of stay on the outside. And we put on our blindfolds. And so immediately, I will say this too. I think out of all the challenges, and at least people I talk to, this is everyone's, like, kind of least favorite challenge because of the blindfold, because of kind of just the anxiety around it, because we put that blindfold on and it honestly felt like we were blindfolded for like an hour. I'm sure it wasn't that long, but, like, when you are blindfolded for that long, it just feels, it's painful. So then we're all blindfolded and then they came back on over the speaker and they said, we have had a malfunction with one of the instruments and the keyboard is now being replaced by crash cymbals. Here's what they sound like. So we're all still standing around with our blindfolds on. We hear crash, crash, crash. So I'm like, okay, there are 7 instruments I feel really good about. Right. And so the refs would come by and you could hear, like, some rustling. And so finally, like, a ref was in front of me and I hear him say, Cole, put out your hand. And they put in my hands. And I don't know if there's a camera on me or not, but they put the steel pan in my hand. They put the mallet in my other hand and my whole body went, like, I was like, okay, this is by some miracle, but this is not good. So it was bad. And I was like, okay, I think this might be over. Like, immediately, just right then and there, holding it. So that's really, like, the first part of the whole thing that you need to know is that, like, I did not want this instrument and neither did anyone else. It was the absolute worst instrument. Then when the challenge actually started, all you could hear was slide whistles. Like, that's it. It was just slide whistle, slide whistle. So it's funny watching back because there's tons of shots of me, like, just kind of wandering around. I'm kind of like making a spiral towards the middle almost. And I'm just passing by, banging this steel pan. And it's such a giant room. The sound doesn't echo. It just drones out. And then you just hear, I'm like, oh, I'm passing by the recorders. Oh, I'm passing by the tambourines. Like, you can't hear any steel pans. And, so then finally, we start to get linked up and I'm like, I'm kind of with some people. I'm kind of not with some people. But then at some point we all ended up, I don't know if you saw this shot where, like, we're all kind of, like, in the middle, like, and we're all kind of, like, running into each other and everything. And when that happened, they let out, like, a stop, stop, stop. So that was the deal. Like, if a game ever malfunctioned or a game ever broke down, there was a stop, stop, stop. And so I don't know what's going on. Like, we're all having to be very quiet and we're all kind of, like, feeling around each other's instruments. Like, okay, are you with me? Like, and then they restarted the game and all of a sudden, like, we're starting. And then I just feel this giant, like, pull to the left. I'm like, what is going on? Like, somebody is pulling us somewhere. And you see that in the show, Jeremiah pulling us to the side. And then we hear the refs, okay, you're all together. And I think at that point, you look, that you're one of the last teams. And immediately we're running. And I feel like a madman because I have watched the video of this like 20 times. And I feel like I feel like Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny, like when he's got the back, like that gif of him and he's like pointing, he's like, oh, what's going to be? You know, I feel like I'm tracking all these little pans. So I have a good idea of like what happened, but it still is. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist here, but like there's still some weird things that happened along the way that make it seem like, wait, how did that pan get dropped? Where did that pan go? I've kind of broken it down a little bit, and I've spoken with the people who are on my team. But when we got to the music stand area and we're setting everything up, Jeremiah was just setting up these stands like crazy. Like we were so fast in setting up the stands. And then as I'm holding my pan, ready to play. And then people, where's my pan? Where's my pan? So I somehow, and I don't know if like someone yelled at me or I heard somebody, but I look out on the floor and there are 3 pans on the floor, right? There's 3 pans on the floor. I run out onto the floor. I grab the 3 pans and there were like 2 mallets and I run those back. I hand them off and then somebody's saying, I don't have my mallet. And so then in the show, you see Chris going, Cole, it's on the floor. So that's the second time I ran out to the floor. So what they actually show in the show is me running out the second time. I ran onto the floor twice. And so as I run out onto the floor the second time, I'm lurking and the mallet's so small and it's dark and there's lights. And finally I spot it. And as I grab it and pick it up, that's when the lights go red. So if everyone would have had their pan, if everyone would not have dropped, we would have been through. We would have been safe. So then like the red light goes off. And then what I'm learning, like I have people coming over to me and they're like, this person dropped their pan. This person was off wandering somewhere. And ultimately now, like I know Jeremiah dropped his pan. I know that Lizzie dropped her pan. Jim, he dropped his pan. And Jim was, and I were laughing about it because Jim said, well, what's funny about it is that I dropped my pan and then Nikki and Hadia were yelling at me, pick it up, pick it up. And in the commotion, he picked up his blindfold and not the pan.
Oh, geez, Jim.
So, and he was like about that. And then there is the other shot of like Adam kind of like, once again, this is the weird conspiracy theorist in me, but like it looks like Adam just kind of drops his pan while he's running. Him and I have not discussed it. But it looks suspect, if you ask me. And then what I also found out is that I told you how everything went stop, 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 right? So what ended up happening during that point is that Jeremiah and Adam were like linked up. Okay, they were linked up at one point, and they were actually linked up with the wrong team. And that team ended up getting all together. So Jeremiah and Adam here, you know, you're good. They take off their blindfolds. That's not their team. So that's why the whole game got stopped. So then they put Jeremiah and Adam's blindfold back on. They restart the game and Adam broke away from Jeremiah. So Jeremiah knew where Adam was. So when you see us all getting pulled by Jeremiah, that was because Jeremiah knew that Adam was off wandering to the side. So there's some very weird things that happened along the way. If we would have held our pans, like it would have been fine. It's so tough to watch back. And I definitely feel like a detective trying to dig through it. I don't know. I just talked for like a really long time. I'm sure you have a million questions.
Yes, I do. Well, my first question is, did any other team drop any of their instruments?
Not that I know of. And I would attribute that to like, even if they did, they all still had plenty of time. Right. And so I think that in the chaos of like, okay, you're taking off your blindfold, you've got to run because now you know it's coming in. I can understand why someone like might like, oh my gosh, I misplaced it or whatever. Like just in the chaos of everything. Like I can totally understand that. But as far as I know, we were the only one that dropped our instruments straight up.
Yes, I was very curious about that. And then also too, as I'm watching it, y'all are putting up the stands so quickly. So as a viewer, before any of it happened, because we see the drops happen, we see the instruments are on the floor. We know that. But you're setting up your stands so quickly that we're figuring, okay, you all have this in the bag, but oh, wait, you have to go then and track down all the instruments that are dropped. And the tiny little stick that's so hard to see, that's the other issue that you're running into there.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what's interesting about that is that because you can see like when we take our blindfolds off, like Jeremiah, his pan goes flying, Lizzie's pan goes flying. You see him go flying. And I think that's simply just that adrenaline of like, oh my gosh, we've got to get to this spot, right? So once the stands are all set up, like the ukulele folks, they were still setting up their stands. So there was enough time for me to run out to the middle of the floor, grab those other pans, run back, and then run back out again before that other team finished. So there was a large chunk of time where we were ahead. And if we would have had the pans and the sticks, we would have gone through in no time. We would have been far, far ahead. They were having a very difficult time putting their stands together.
Do you know about the time frame that it was for when y'all had your stands all up ready to go and then you're going out for the instruments twice? Do you know how long it was about?
So, I mean, I'm sure other people have different opinions on it. I certainly, my internal clock, because I'm the one that's running out on the floor, I would say there was maybe 15 to 20 seconds of me running out, grabbing the pans on the floor and coming back. And then maybe another 10 to 15 seconds of like, okay, like 10 seconds of like, where's everybody got theirs? What's going on? And then me realizing, oh no, there's still more out there and running back in. So I think we're looking at like, maybe a whole time frame of like maybe 30 to 45 seconds. But in that moment, it feels so much faster, right? Because like it took me definitely like 10 seconds to run out on the floor, grab them very quickly, run back. So, I mean, I think we're looking at like 30 seconds, 30 to 45.
It's such a moment though, because you see all the chaos. The drama is right there because it came down to the very end. It was that close. Which that's, as a viewer, we want to see that. It's the drama. That's what we're looking to watch these shows for. But as a player, you're thinking to yourself, oh my goodness, I'm going to be eliminated because people forgot their one thing they were holding the entire time, the instruments.
Yes, that is correct. And I mean, it's hard to watch. It's definitely, you know, I was having some conversation with folks where we were like, we wonder how this is going to be edited because I mean, I had my pan. Sarah had her pan. Lindsay had her pan. Phil had his pan. Lynette had her pan. So, I mean, there was a good group of us that had everything together. It was just, I think, just as this is the other part too, like from being blindfolded for so long and then like taking off your blindfolds and you're like, all right, I got to find our spot on the floor. And like, I can fully accept that people would drop their instrument. If we were maybe like not so close to the bottom, like I think we obviously could have maybe calmed down a little bit because we see 2 or 3 teams still running around. But when you see that like, oh, you are neck and neck right now with another team, like book it, go. And then in the situation, it just becomes more and more like, uh-oh, this got dropped. And then you're just trying to put together the pieces to make it all work. It's so funny because in the final interview when we're all standing there and I put a clip of it up on my Instagram where like, you can just see my face. I'm fuming. I am so mad. I'm just so angry because I have all these people come around me like, you guys had it. Like you had it. If it it worked out that way. And then I believe I said something, they didn't use it, but I said something like, for an instrument that brings a lot of peace and calm, it sure brought us a lot of stress and pain today or something like that. But it's just one of those situations where, I think you're relying on a group, like you're relying on things to happen. But I also think that out of all of the challenges, that is the one that is still kind of the most, it's the biggest crapshoot of them all. It really is. You're blindfolded. You don't get to pick your instrument. You don't know where your team is. You're relying just on your hearing. Like there are so many factors that go into that and it could go wrong in so many different ways. And I just don't think like I didn't want to go out on a team challenge because I wanted to be responsible for my own fate. So it's even harder for me to watch back when I'm like running onto the floor and trying to grab these things and it's just not working out for me. That's the fastest I've ever run ever.
It's tough because as you said, you want to be the one responsible for why you exit the game. If it's up to you and said, all right, this wasn't my challenge, it wasn't my day, that's okay. And that's why I think they do the team challenges, because it brings another element to the game. And also, there is a ton of luck involved. Getting the instrument is luck. Being with a different group of people, because everyone has their own individual mindset, but if they're able to come together as a group and all be on the same page, it just really comes down to the people you're with, the items that you get. But overall, I thought you were doing a great job until we got to that challenge, because you gave it your all, but in all the other challenges, you were really excelling.
Oh yeah, I mean, I like the nut stacking challenge. I was like near the top 10 or so, because I got to yell out "Let's get nuts," which is like my air guitar phrase. Really happy about that. The weight guessing challenge, like that goes. I used to guess people's ages, weights, and birthdays for a living, right? Like that's my carny background. So it was like that was easy. So like there were certain games where I was like, I feel really good about this. Like, I feel really good. I'm finishing where I want to finish. Like, I definitely can see myself being in a position where, like, okay, if I get down to the bottom, I know that, like, I can make it far. And I think that's the other hard part, too, because, you know, there are so many people. There's so many stories to tell. And so, I mean, when that challenge was all over, it was kind of like, you're done. You know, like there's nothing else, like there's no other interviews you can have. So I think that's the other part for me, too. And I don't feel so bad about it right now. Like, I love that, you know, I got to be on a show and I got to meet these people and have this experience. I would have loved to have been there longer to have more of a storyline on, you know, whatever. Everybody hopes for that, right? When you go on a game show or you go on a TV show. But I think for me, I can't be upset with the way that we went out anymore, because literally it's like watching one of the craziest like action movies. You know, it really is like an exhilarating thing to watch. So I'm like, okay, well, at least I was talking to Jeremiah and he was like, well, at least we didn't go out where like we were still standing in the middle of the floor and still trying to search for each other. And like, that's a very good point. I agree with Jeremiah on that 100%. Like, we put up a good fight to the end. And sometimes this is just how it plays out.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to go out anyway, you went out very epic. Let's be very clear here. It was just that type of moment where we're watching as viewers going, what is going to happen? How is this end result going to go? Because it could have gone either way. And so that's what all you can ask for as a viewer. But even as a player, at least, you know, I'm that person that was running out to get the instruments. That's me. I'm that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. I am. It's scary to watch still. I can still like watch it. I started like, oh, I can feel the tension. And I mean, I've talked with, you know, almost every single person that was on our team. Like I've talked with Jim, I've talked with Sarah, I talked with Lizzie a bunch. Her and I were like, she sent me a video of her like pointing at, and there's this pan, and then you pick up this pan, like trying to break it down. And then like Jeremiah and Lynette and Adam and Phil and Lindsay, like I think all of us, you know, that whole team, like we all did what we could. Like, I don't think there's anything more that we could have done other than hold on to the instruments, right? And so at the end of the day, it's like, okay, that's the instrument. That's how it plays out. But yeah, that I wish, this is my wish. I have one wish. I would love for 99 to Beat and Fox just to release the entirety of the music challenge, just unedited. Just give us the whole thing from beginning to end so I could truly track the pans. Find out. Because there was another point where like Lizzie's like, where's my pan? Where's my pan? And like her and I were chatting, like, we think one pan got kicked at some point, like off to the side as like stands were being created. But like we have no, it's all just kind of like a blur in vision. But then when we did see some of the video of like, okay, Jeremiah, yeah, definitely dropped his pan. Lizzie dropped his pan. Jim dropped his pan. Adam, I don't know exactly what happened there. Like he was running and did he do that? Like, why did he do that? It doesn't make any sense. So there's still some things to figure out there, but I would love to just see it unedited. Just give me an overhead shot so I can track the pans and see what happened.
That would be brilliant, because even so, there's so much more to the challenge that we don't even see, because as you said, it's an edited version. You have to only put these little clips here and there because it's not a 2-second challenge. None of these are 2-second challenges. You're just getting what you can out of it, and then you're putting it out there. And then this is why we do the podcast, because now we get to get more of the intel, more of the information, more of the behind the scenes from it.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, some of those challenges that went long, like nut stacking and stuff like that, to watch those from beginning to end, like, you know, they edited over an hour of that into 6 minutes. And it's like that tension it was crazy. Like when they show it on TV, but you know, to be there and live it and watch that play out even more. So let's just like, that's what it should be. Every episode should just be one challenge. Show it beginning to end. You know, like let's treat it like a sporting event. Who's going on tonight? So, I mean, it is edited so fast, but man, I would love to just see just a little bit more of that blind band challenge, just a little bit more, so I can like fully say, okay, this is what truly happened. This is how it went down.
Just a smidget more. Well, Cole, is there anything else you would like to share about your experience on the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, overall for me, this was an experience I've wanted to have for a long time. Like everybody always dreams like, oh, I want to go on a game show or I want to do something like this. This was truly like one of the most amazing, fun experiences I've ever had. I think that, you know, as I look back on it now, the thing that I'm almost kind of angry at myself a little bit, because I think that when they did say it was for $1 million, it did kind of throw me for a loop. Like, I think that like, I kind of felt like I was having a weird kind of, you're thinking about, oh my God, what would I do with $1 million? And I think it kind of like shut me off a little bit. And so that's like, when I watch it back, I'm kind of sad because I'm like, you know what? I didn't get to know that person very well. Or like, oh, there I am standing in the back, just like, you know, looking like this. And I think that like, I almost feel like, you know, I could have done more, you know, but that's just me. I'll get over that. But that being said, I mean, the craziest part for me is that, you know, that challenge ends, we're eliminated. The next day, I'm on a flight back home. So I am home, already back in my house, like 24 hours after I'm being eliminated. And I was just sitting and my wife's just like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm okay. And like, we had to go to Costco to buy something. So like the transition period coming back home was crazy. But then I'm getting messages and it's all still going on. It's all still being filmed. And I'm just like, you're still in it. You're still in it. So I feel like once the next few episodes air and I see some more things, I know there's going to be a ton of stuff that's like that I've heard about that's probably not going to be shown on camera. So I kind of feel this weird like sense of like, oh, I got to go in and like, hey, what actually happened there? How did that play out? So it's a weird viewing experience for me now. But overall, I'm just excited to see how it finishes it up and how the next episodes play out, because there's a lot of people that not only am I really rooting for, but, you know, I want the world, the people who are watching this show, to get to see them and showcase them. And obviously I wish it would have been longer for me, but I have no regrets. And if I could do it again, I absolutely would 100% do it again. Sign me up.
We love to hear it. And Cole, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy that you were able to shed some light on everything that we were not able to see on the show. And everyone else, be sure to check out more coverage of 99 to Beat that I have going. There will be more interviews. We'll be talking the episodes, and be sure to check out everything else that we have going on at the Reality After Show. Cole, such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. Some air guitar on our way out.
Oh yeah. And Cole, is there anything you'd like to plug on your end?
You can always find me on Instagram, the Cole XP. It has a lot of my air guitar adventures and things like that. And you never know where I'll pop up. Just, you never know. And last but not least, and I say this as the air guitar champion, Slappy Nuts, let's get nuts, baby.
I love it. You were a fantastic guest, and this has been so much fun. Everyone else, take care.